Are you tired of putting a lot of effort into something but not get the results we're looking for? Sometimes we invest a lot of time and energy into something, but things don't really work out for us. And we internalize it, we think it's our fault, we think that it's because we didn't work harder, that we didn't invest as much energy and time and money as necessary. But what if the problem it's not out there? It's not in something or someone that didn't give you what you wanted or didn't give you what you expected. But I think that sometimes things don't work out for us to change directions in life. And I think that sometimes we get what we need and not what we want. And I think it might create this imbalance within us because we are chasing something and we're not getting the results, so we get frustrated. But sometimes what we get is exactly what we need. And by the way, I'm Diego. I post weekly videos on personal development for gay men. If this is something you're into, I invite you to subscribe so you get notified of my future videos. So today I want to talk about the disconnect between what we want in life and the results that we get. And I'm sure you already have, like I did too, to invest a lot of time and effort and even money into something. And we don't get the results we were looking for. And we think it's our fault, that we are not smart enough, that we didn't invest harder, that we didn't study harder, that we need to, perhaps in a business endeavor, to invest more money to get the results, for example. But I think that sometimes we're not seeing clearly the things for what they are. And I can share a little bit about my own journey. I had a corporate career. I worked in marketing for over 10 years in office environments. And I had some success, but I always felt off. And I always felt like I didn't fit in properly. And I couldn't do, the office politics well. I always work hard, and I actually like, marketing and the concepts of marketing, like the creative aspect of it. But I was terrible at office politics and all the fake conversations, and I was bad at asking for a pay rise when I felt that it was needed. And in general, I thought I wasn't smart enough, that other people knew better, that it took me a long time to actually see my worth and to demand the things that I thought that was needed at the time. And even still, there would come to a point where I was bored, I wasn't motivated, and I was always like changing. Every 1-2 years, I would look for a new job. And that's kind of how I developed my career. Because I guess I was looking for a challenge. I was looking for something more motivating, to keep me going. But then, and after, like 6 months in a new company, I would feel unmotivated again. And that's how I lived for like 10 plus years, my career side. So I always had this, this little thing in my mind. I was like, I don't know if I really enjoy this, but I guess that's what I have to do. I have bills to pay. But it was always an effort for me, to have those conversations, those office conversations, to go out for lunch with people that I had zero things in common, and I had just to talk, blah blah blah, and things that didn't really make any sense for me, but I guess I was supposed to do it. And after a while, I realized that people that get promotions, the people that get visibility in an office environment, it's not necessarily that people that work hard, that people that perform the better in terms of work, but actually the ones that are more sociable, the ones that sell themselves in a better way, and not necessarily that do the best work. But I guess without getting too much detail, I guess what showed me after a long time is that I wasn't getting the results I was looking for. And I wasn't really motivated to keep it going, you know. I had to change the environment, I had to change companies every now and then to keep it going just a little bit longer until I get demotivated again, and then I get into the cycle again to look for something else, and then kind of change the environment, and then I get some motivation. And of course, looking at it now, it's not really sustainable in the long term. I know it's also common to change jobs just to get better terms in general, you know, to get a better paycheck. But I think for me, it was deeper than that. But now I see that that's really not the way for me to go, and I wasn't getting the results I needed. Um, and I actually burned out last year. And that's what made me to really stop. And you know, I was like, I don't even have energy to keep it going anymore, despite all the hard work and trying to show my worth to other people. I wasn't getting the results. I wasn't getting the promotion. I wasn't getting the rewards I was looking for, despite being burned out. And of course, I was doing already a lot of personal development work, you know, therapy, trauma healing. But this time I could see differently than the other times that I just changed jobs and I had some motivation again, and the cycle kept it going. So now I could see that, okay, now I have to stop and reassess where my life is going, because clearly this is not working out for me. If I burned out this way, I was ill, I had a lot of like health problems, and I couldn't, you know, like physically keep it going anymore. So for me, I guess that was the alarm that I needed, to pause and reassess where my life is going. So one of the messages that I want to share today is that sometimes discomfort is not failure, it's redirection. And it's not your fault. It's not that you didn't work hard. It's not that you didn't put the effort necessary. But it is a way of showing you where perhaps it's not for you, what something is not for you. And so I guess there's a fine line between working hard enough, or regardless of the situation, and when it's time to go. And sometimes closing a chapter is also super important, you know, knowing when to end a story, when to end a relationship, when to end, you know, a toxic relationship with someone in your life, for example. And so, despite uncomfortable, despite being painful, I had a lot of grief to do for my own journey. You know, I think I still am, because that job situation, my career situation, made me move out of the country that I lived for 8 years, and made me part ways with a lot of friends, and made me end a lifestyle that I had for 8 years that I now don't have anymore. And so a lot of things in my life changed after that burnout, which is about a year ago now. and I had a lot of grief to do, but that was necessary, and I knew that was necessary for me to change directions in my life now, and to recover and to get energy again. But now, for the first time, to invest that energy in myself and to invest into a path that I now know it's more fulfilling for me. So don't feel that things that aren't working out for you, it's your fault. And perhaps maybe you need to work harder. Perhaps you are in a career that makes sense to you, and maybe you need to work harder to get the results. But maybe you don't. And maybe you don't, and perhaps you are investing an energy that even you don't have anymore to get the results. But perhaps that's not the path for you. And failure, as I mentioned, is a redirection. And so it's also important in the process to learn how to listen to life's feedback and not force your way in. And it's something that maybe you have to develop on your own way. But in my career example, I was at this company for 2.5 years, the last company that I worked for. And after a year and a half, I started asking my boss at the time, when is the time to talk about, like career development. And then I put on my annual review and I didn't get the results that I wanted. And then I talked to someone from HR, and then they gave me some feedback, and I worked on that, and I didn't get the results that I wanted. And then in my last annual review, I had a 3% pay rise, and then I was given more work despite being almost burned out. And I started doing more work initially until I panicked and my body stopped functioning. So of course I was getting some feedback. I was trying different things, and I was getting some feedback, and like, this is not working. Like, this company for me is not working anymore. But then in the end, I figured it's not like the company. It was actually like my career path that probably I needed to review. So perhaps start gathering feedback, and perhaps start asking questions or start reflecting. Maybe you have someone that in your life that perhaps you feel is a bit toxic, and then you can reflect, how does being with this person make me feel? If you spend some time with friends or with someone in your family, and after that interaction you feel tired, you feel depleted, you feel low mood, that's your feedback. Or like in a job, as I mentioned, you start getting feedback from other people, from your boss, like about your work. But I guess deeper than that, like I did in my life, you can reflect on your real motivations. Is this career path right for you? Are you feeling energized? Are you feeling recognized? Are you feeling, some sense of pleasure and like purpose in what you're doing? If that's something you're into. I know some people, they just get motivated for the money and that's it. But start reflecting, I guess, on the deeper purpose, on the deeper meaning of the things that you're doing. Because I think that helps to maybe separate, what we want and what we need and what we're chasing in life, and versus the results that we're getting. And it helps us, like to reflect on different things in our lives. So I guess that's all that I want to share today. I hope this has been helpful in any way, despite the circumstances that you might be facing. If this inspired you in any way, please subscribe and give this video a thumbs up so you get notified of my future videos. And I hope to see you again very soon. Have a good day. Bye bye.